Imagine what it feels like to be stranded in the middle of the ocean during a storm. All around are big ocean waves, the rumble of the dark sky, and as you cling to the ocean surface, you suddenly feel you're not alone. Around you, there are thousands of great white sharks hidden in the water, their sharp eyes fixed on you, as if waiting for an opportunity. This is the survival story of Deborah Kiley and Brad Kavanaugh. In 1902, Deborah Kiley was an experienced 25-year-old sailor known for her bravery and navigational skills. By the age of 23, he had considerable experience as a crew member on yachts. For Kiley, taking various sailing jobs was a routine. Later, in 1982, she got a contract to be part of the crew for an 18-meter yacht named Trashman. Kiley's friend Brad and two additional crew members, Meg Mooney and Mark Adam, were included. Not all were seasoned sailors, but they were looking forward to adventure and wanted to spend a good time. The day on the deck was perfect. The weather was clear and the ocean calm. The crew was enjoying the travel, relaxing with drinks and sharing stories. Everyone was enjoying the adventure and ocean view, feeling confident and excited. But their happiness came with the realization of an uncertain future. The crew tried to stay hopeful, but things were deteriorating. The conditions changed their excitement into fear. Then, without any warning, a sudden storm hit them, giving no time to recover. The storm attacked the fishermen with 50-foot high waves. The storm had gotten very big, and the waves were constantly hitting the yacht. Water started flooding the cabin, and it soon became clear that their situation was bad. Water started filling in the yacht and it began to sink slowly. The crew had no choice but to abandon the ship and jump into the water. आदम ने कामयाबी से एक छोटे राफ्ट को पानी में उतारा, लेकिन सब इस राफ्ट तक नहीं पहुंच पाए. Kiley and Brad were swimming like a raft when they felt something around their legs. At first, he thought they might be colliding, but when Brad looked down, he was met with the most horrifying and terrifying scene of his life, leaving him utterly speechless. As she stood on the shore, her heart sank as she witnessed the yacht slowly succumbing to the relentless waves of the ocean. A profound sense of loneliness and fear enveloped her, as if the vastness of the sea was swallowing not just the vessel, but her very spirit. With each passing moment, she felt increasingly isolated and powerless in this expansive blue abyss, the enormity of the ocean amplifying her despair as she watched the yacht vanish into the depths, leaving her feeling small and fragile amidst the roaring waters. They couldn't understand why so many sharks were there. They soon realized that Meg, another crew member, had been injured during the storm. The smell of her blood attracted the sharks and made them aggressive. By the third day, it was clear that she had blood poisoning. The crew also ran out of water. The weather had changed and the sun was burning them in the open sky. Their thirst was increasing. Everyone was compelled to drink salt water out of desperation from thirst, but Deborah kept persistently explaining to them not to make the critical mistake of doing so. But John and Mark, disappointed, started drinking salt water, which made them hallucinate. The next big tragedy occurred when John had hallucinations that he was seeing the shore. He jumped into the water and started swimming, while others were screaming for him to come back, but soon, he was pulled underwater and never returned. Deborah immediately understood what had happened in an instant. Shark had caught John in a trap. The chilling silence that enveloped the room made it unmistakably clear that he was gone, leaving a heavy sense of dread in her heart. Mark was also almost immediately drifting away from reality. He was starting to have hallucinations. He began talking about things like going to the store for cigarettes and beer. Suddenly, he threw himself into the water. Deborah described this horrifying moment as the most traumatic of her entire life, witnessing the brutal scene of the shark devouring Mark's body in front of her eyes. The sheer terror gripped her, leaving her paralyzed with fear. As the shark launched its dangerous attack, the raft they were clinging to almost capsized, teetering on the brink of disaster. Their harrowing ordeal seemed to unfold in slow motion, with Deborah and Brad helplessly watching the tragedy unfold. By the time dawn broke, the horrifying reality had set in, and she realized that Mark was completely gone, leaving an indelible mark of sorrow in her heart. Distraught and thirsty, Brad briefly thought about eating Meg's body, but Deborah explained that they should focus on survival. Due to the condition of Meg, the raft's floor was filled with mud, sludge, and seaweed. Carefully extracting Meg's clothes and jewelry, Deborah decided that if they survived, they would return them to Meg's family. After that solemn moment, they gathered in a circle, prayed for Mark with heartfelt words, and gently released his body into the vast ocean, honoring his memory and spirit. After this, Deborah and Brad spent a lot of time cleaning the raft, trying to erase all traces of Mike's body, but while cleaning, Brad fell into the water, where there was a danger of a shark attack. Deborah gathered her remaining energy and tried to pull Brad back onto the raft, but Deborah had become quite weak, and Brad couldn't climb back up. Meanwhile, with a new strength, Brad noticed that the ship's captain saw them sitting on the raft and then they were immediately rescued. By then, they were rooted in the situation. They had traveled 140 kilometers. They were provided food, water, and necessary medical services. Later, it became evident that their sunken ship Rashmin had never been searched because a false signal was sent indicating that the ship had safely reached its destination. Their lives transformed indefinitely after the harrowing 5 days they spent adrift in the vast Atlantic Ocean, completely devoid of navigation. The traumatic experiences they endured during this time lingered in their minds, haunting them even after their safe return home. They encountered numerous challenges, both physical and emotional, and recounted this ordeal as being trapped in an unrelenting state of survival mode, where every moment was a struggle for sustenance and hope. The memories of the relentless waves and the desperate search for land became an integral part of their existence, shaping their perspectives and relationships for years to come. Finally, it is important to mention that some people have doubts about the truth of this story as told by the survivors. Only those two people survived in the entire crew, prompting some to believe that perhaps there is more to this story that they did not share with us. Maybe we will never know this. If you like this horrifying setup story, then watch our next incredible survivor stories.